Marc Wieland is a Swiss digital nomad in his 20s. We originally met in Portugal and then in many other destinations. This conversation was recorded in Thailand during our stay in Koh Lanta. We explore his approach to working remotely, how he found an agency that allows him to work just 4 days a week from anywhere. We also talk about his approach to meet locals using Tinder for actual connection instead of hookups. And we talk about his experience in Swiss Army, where the service is mandatory, but there is a possibility to do a civil service. If you would like to read the transcript and check all the links to everything we talk about, just go to nerdontour.net or click the link in the description of this episode. And now enjoy the show. Hello and welcome. Today I am with Marc Wieland, the Swiss location-dependent web developer in his 20s, roaming the globe. How are you, Marc?
Hi, I'm good. Today we're in the co-working. We have some issues with the internet, but we're still managing. We're working. We're recording this podcast now, so all good.
Excellent. And just to be clear, because my German is not so good, is it Wieland? Is that how you pronounce it?
Well, in Swiss German, I say Wieland.
Oh, really?
But it changes in every language a little bit.
Okay. And in English, usually people, how they pronounce it?
They would say Wieland.
Really?
Or Wieland, yeah. Whatever.
No, I hope it's not violent.
Yeah, better not. But yeah.
Okay. So we already established that you are from the German part of Switzerland. And we'll definitely talk more about the place you're coming from. But I would like to start with something that was also important for me when I started traveling and just having my backpack and going to places and enjoying, exploring. But you are combining this with working, with being a digital nomad, which is, I would say, quite hard to limit all your belongings just to have a small carry-on. So how was it that you started the backpacking in Latin America, and why did you only travel with a small backpack?
So I guess I always try to try and see how minimalistic I can travel. And I've been traveling quite a bit in Europe with just hand luggage. And this worked quite well for 2, 3, 4 weeks. And then normally when I go further, do a long distance flight, I take the bigger backpack. And so around half a year ago, I tried to just go European style, with the small backpack. It was just a trial, 2 months going to South America just with hand luggage. And it worked quite well actually. So I was really happy. But on this travel, I'm back with the big backpack.
Sure. Okay, so it seems that you are changing it depending on the mood and just trying things out. And the minimalistic approach is just out of curiosity and convenience. So on that recent trip to Latin America, what did you notice that when you only have your small backpack and you can move around, is it actually better in the end?
I enjoyed it a lot because you don't have a lot of stuff, no weight. So you can just hop on a bus and have everything with you. Don't need, and also if you fly, grabbing the baggage, no queuing, just go out and fine. And also the prices. I mean, nowadays you pay for every item, you pay extra, and this is also really nice. What I missed on this trip was to bring my bigger camera. I only had my phone, and I normally like to take some really good pictures, but this time I couldn't bring it because it was just too heavy.
How big a camera is it?
It's a Sony Alpha 9, so it's quite a heavy one. I don't know what the weight is, but it adds up, yeah.
It's the one without a mirror?
Yeah, it's mirrorless.
You have the couple of different lenses for it?
This time I brought 2 lenses, and those lenses are quite good, so they're very solid and heavy. But there it was more a problem of the space actually.
Okay, not really the weight, but like where do you put the big thing that
Exactly.
requires space, and it's a lot of glass and metal. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have like the battery, and here's an accessory, and then yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so according to your nomad list profile, your first destination when you start nomading was Dubai 6 years ago. First of all, is that true?
Actually no. My first travel with the backpack was like Norway, in like winter.
Oh,
but also this was not really like nomadic kind of. It was with a backpack, but I was not working back then. And Dubai was the second one, and it's like falls in the same category. I was not working. I was like visiting, had my backpack with me, like solo traveling, did like some side projects for myself, but not like 4 days a week or 5 days a week working. The first trip where I started to work was then like a little bit more than half a year later to Spain and Portugal. That was the official first trip.
So how did it start for you? Like, were you inspired by someone to do this?
Yeah, so it counts back to 2015, where I went to like a WordPress conference in Switzerland. And there were some people doing this lifestyle. And they were actually already about to finish that lifestyle. They were like done with it in 2015. They were like, what?
Okay.
And I was really inspired by that and thought, yeah, let's give it a try. I want to do that, but my company at this time was not even allowing home office. So that was a problem, no? But this was like my dream, no, back then. And at some point I started searching for a company who is allowing me to do that, and found one.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. So the inspiration back in WordPress community, in the events that you also were helping to organize in Switzerland.
Yeah. So this one was like the first one where I just was attending as a volunteer, like just helping during the day. And then the years after, I was like co-organizer and like helping out. Yeah.
Excellent. So you could learn and meet more people, more of those digital nomads. Were they primarily Swiss or some other international crowd attending those events?
Like the Swiss WordCamp is kind of like international. I mean, the people, they're all Swiss who are organizing it. But then during the day, there's like people coming from like the Netherlands, Germany, like some people from the UK. So it's quite kind of international. Yeah.
Okay. And once you met those people, did you like try to interview them or get to know some tips, or besides having the remote work, how to even organize such a thing, or where to go, what should be the first destination? How did you prepare for this?
Good question. I guess I was not really thinking much about it. I mean, I was like
go with the flow.
Yeah, I was reviewing like some products, like good backpacks. I was really into that. But else, like destination wise, not really. I was mostly, back then I still had like an apartment. So for me, it was clear I don't go really, really far. I stay somewhere around in Europe. And then the first time that I went to Portugal and Spain, it was kind of cold, and I was like, let's go south. Yeah. So more or less like following the sun, I would say.
Nice. What were the destinations there?
In the first trip?
Yeah.
Good. I forgot all the names. Like I went to the south coast of France first, and then so I had an intrail ticket. So I was going with the train.
Yeah.
That's what I did like the first 3 or 4 years, because in Europe, that's just amazing. So I was in the south of France, and then went along the coast to Barcelona. And then at some point went like Madrid, and then all the way to the south to Sevilla. From there, went over to like the south of Portugal, went all the way up to Lisbon, Porto. And yeah, that was like the 3 weeks trip or something like that.
And everything by train, using the interrail?
Mostly, yeah. Sometimes you cannot. In Portugal, you don't really have much train, just like from the north to the south or vice versa. Yeah, but the rest with the train. Yeah, and in
Cool,
Spain
cool.
it's amazing. The trains are so good and like fast.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. But I heard about the Interrail as a good opportunity and alternative to flights, where most people fly nowadays, and it's like obvious to go from one place to another. But in Europe, this initiative actually covers most of the countries, even outside of the European Union. Yeah, like the Balkans or other places. I know.
Yeah, some are
Is
included.
it part of the Switzerland also?
In Switzerland as well. Yeah.
Excellent.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just for me, not because I'm Swiss.
Yeah, when you
so-
start from your destination.
Exactly.
Then it
Well, yeah,
doesn't
you can
cover.
start from there. True. Yeah, and for me it was also really great. I loved traveling by train in Switzerland. Everybody travels by train, and you can work. No, it's really nice. So you,
in the train.
yeah, you have like internet. Well, not in Germany, but normally you can like you have internet, and in the airplane, yeah, you don't have internet for 2 hours, and then you
Yeah.
cannot really work. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Like working even from airplanes. Airports. Yeah. When you go to some places, the Wi-Fi usually is like so crowded or not reliable, or like after 15 minutes
You get
locks
kicked
you
out. Yeah, exactly.
And then sometimes even the mobile data coverage on the airports, for some reason, in some places, is like so off, or like doesn't really, work for more than WhatsApp messages. So it's really problematic to do so. And then trains, yeah, I also love them, and I wish we would have like a much more integrated network, between the countries in Europe, like to have the bullet trains, from like any two big cities, and maybe more people would be willing to do more of it. And the Interrail, is it primarily focused on students, or anyone can use it?
Anybody can use that. It's just difference in prices. I guess a lot of they try to get people who are like studying and then want to take like a gap year and travel around. And it's kind of like very flexible and cheap option. Yeah.
Cool. So you started with Europe and slowly expanded the nomadic roaming adventures. So what was the first destination outside of Europe?
That was Indonesia. So yeah, that was the first trip. And I went back quite a bit. Guess because of that as well, because it was my first like other country. Everything was so different. And yeah, it's like sticks to my mind now.
Was it Bali or elsewhere?
No, we flew to Jakarta. So I say we because I was traveling with a friend who is Indonesian. So we flew to Jakarta, traveled around Java for a bit, and yeah, like ended up in Bali in the end.
How do you recall this trip right now?
Like, how do you mean?
Would you say like everything went well and like you were already, convinced that this is something you want to do for the foreseeable future, or you get like a lot of mishaps or misadventures where you kind of find yourself in the day without the internet, without the power, and you need to travel to another city to get it?
True. I was quite happy at this time. I mean, I was traveling in Europe already a little bit. Something which was for sure very, very different was transportation and the internet.
No trains in Indonesia.
There is.
Oh,
quite a bit actually. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, they are not going on time, no, and they take like ages. Now they have like night trains, and buses are also not really nice to take. But in that sense, that was like very, very different. But all the rest, I was used to it, and I was always really against meetings, so I was like very flexible in terms of schedule, and I don't have a lot of calls. So as long as I could Google something, do my research, I was fine. So the trip went quite well. There was no issues.
Nice. So you really felt that this can be sustainable. Yeah. Like now, regarding of whatever destination next, you can do this. And what was the other part in terms of, meeting people? Did you think about finding the co-living or co-working spaces like Co-hub, in which we are right now in Thailand? Or was that something that only happened afterwards?
At the beginning, I was not really searching for like places like this, not even co-workings. I was mostly in my apartments or hotels or hostels or whatever at the beginning. Was working there, went to coffees. I was happy with that. And at some point I tried to like find co-livings or co-working spaces to kind of have a routine. And I also like, it takes so much time to find like people when you arrive at a new place, like build up kind of not community, but like your environment. And in co-livings, like in good co-livings, this is already solved. You just go there and nothing to worry about.
Yeah. Like for me, this is the main advantage of like going anywhere, because the apartment can be nice, but then nothing can replace having living human beings next to you, and just like chatting or going for a coffee. And then I think I also found it from my experience where I was in Malaysia, actually, the most working from different cafes, where the crowd of people who are coming just to have a coffee, and then maybe sometimes someone opens their laptop for like 1 hour. It's not really the people like us, like they don't do it as, regular thing and day to day. And you, of course, can connect with them, but they are from different world. While here in a co-working like this one that exists for 10 years and have like a strong community, it gives so much when you can just join in for like a pub quiz or some other event that is happening. Would you say that you have any routine or like any amount of months in a year that you would prefer to have your own apartment and then to be in places like this?
No, I don't really have a routine like this. I mean, I try to find like some co-livings where I go to, like just now where we said, okay, let's go together here. Let's spend like a month here. And I'm super up for that. And sometimes try to find something like this, but I'm not going from co-living to co-living all year round. I think that would be too much, because at some point I'm just like socially exhausted as well.
Yes.
So you need both, no?
Yeah, like, of course, like for me, it also applies that I shift from one to another. Also don't have any strict kind of rule, but it's so nice to know that there are alternatives and that you can switch from one place to another. And then it's also not superficial, like many virtual places that there is like a group of wannabe nomads on Facebook, and then like they are just exchanging info about, oh yeah, there is a cheap hostel and Wi-Fi sometimes works. And it's no, really, like it's not the kind of thing that I am looking for. So you mentioned that you usually find some apartments. Is that usually through Airbnb, or do you also use other platforms?
Yeah, I would say 80% Airbnb. Booking.com sometimes, but only when I just stay for a couple of nights. Maybe a weekend trip, then I use Booking. But else for like long-term stay, I use Airbnb or directly. No, or if you are in a co-living, you're in the co-living.
You don't have to. Are you actually using some of those like super features that Airbnb introduced, I think during the pandemic, when they realized that there is a lot of people like you that kind of like go from one place to another and books one Airbnb here and another somewhere else, and they kind of introduce some flexibility that you can pick whatever dates or whatever places, or they would even like suggest you, like using their algorithms to tell you where to go or what to book.
Never really used a feature like that. Yeah, I mean, normally I arrive at a place and search for exactly that place. I'm not like with flights, like, where's the cheapest flights? Where can I go? I'm not really using that. I could actually, because I have the flexibility, but never really doing that. Yeah, from what I learned, meeting you in different places, I see that you already have more or less your plan throughout the year, like what to do, and then being in the summer in Europe. This year, renting the van from your family to go around and do a bit of van life. So it's kind of like clicks into whatever you want to do during the year. And then if something unfortunate happened, like you had some health issues in Malaysia and you couldn't go to Japan, but then it's not that big of a deal to kind of rearrange the whole plan and then find another spot where to stay for longer. Yeah, I mean, that's part of our life. We have to adapt to the environment and like whatever comes. But when I started, I didn't want to book like a long time in advance. So when I was like booking something 2 weeks in advance, this was too much. It was like, no, I'm like super limited. And now I kind of like to book stuff in advance and know where my flight is going back, because it's also cheaper if you book like 4 to 6 months in advance.
Yes.
So especially the long flights, I try to book them in advance.
Nice. In terms of places, like specific destinations, you told me that Lombok, the island right next to Bali, is something that really have a special place in your heart. And then Koh Lanta, the island where we are right now, is like on the number 2 on the list. What is number 3 and so on?
That's a good question. I mean, I like places which have like a tropical vibe and do have some mountains, because I'm from Switzerland. I need mountains. But I like this combination. So Lombok is a really good match for that. And Koh Lanta has a little bit of similar vibes. Also in Lombok, you have a lot of Swedish Scandinavian expats. Okay. Here as well. Here you don't really have mountains. I mean, some small hills, but yeah, but it's a little bit a similar vibe. Yeah. So that's why I like it. But like number 3, I don't know.
You didn't find yet.
Probably like changing completely to another side of the world, like somewhere in Colombia.
Okay.
Like the north coast of Colombia, like Santa Marta. That's a place which I like a lot as well, which a co-worker of mine is, let's say, like 6 to 8 months a year living there. And I sometimes go there to see him. And it also has like this vibe and like some mountains, jungle. Yeah.
Tropical, nice,
yes,
laid back. Perfect. So you mentioned that you like to be in this hot and sunny places. But one thing that always strikes me whenever we were talking, that you're actually meeting quite a lot of people through Tinder, which like most people would just find their dates or their hookups or whatever. But in your case, it actually works to find like friends, with whom you then, like switch to WhatsApp or something else. But you have this kind of connection through years and years. So how does it work?
Yeah, it's interesting. Everybody, if they hear Tinder, is like they just think about hookups, especially as a traveler. No, for me, I try to find like different apps where I could find locals and then experience kind of the local life. No, I'm here in co-workings. I meet international people, nomads, but
not locals.
But yeah, you don't meet a single local, and you don't really figure out how really local life is. And normally I try to connect to the locals. So there's like different apps. There is like Nomad List is completely for nomads, no? Yeah. Then you have like couch surfing, which you see some travelers, some locals. And then Tinder, you have mostly locals, some travelers, but depending on which places you are, if you're in touristy places or not. But yeah, so I just like match people and then go out for drinks, for food with them. And then at some point you like change to Instagram, WhatsApp. And since I'm traveling so much, I have now friends like everywhere, no? And then I go back to those places where I know people, which is really nice. Yeah.
Cool. So you're actually paying some subscription to keep it active, your Tinder account, and then to have the ability to change the location. Yeah. So before you arrive, you already set it that, okay, I'll be here soon. So you start matching and talking. But then like actually the conversations that you are creating, do they realize that you are just looking for friends and that you are actually interested in their local life? Because that's, something that I don't fully comprehend.
Yeah. I mean, it really depends. There's a lot of girls who are really happy just to have that, like drinks and food together, because a lot of guys are searching for something else and they're annoyed by that. And then I meet a lot of people, they are just interested to talk to some strangers, to somebody who is from another country and want to see their views as well. And then that's where like really interesting conversations start.
Okay. So that's your way to open up the new connection and then keep it going. Yeah, that's really interesting. Like mostly have my connections through like Nomad List or some other communities that are focused on digital nomads, which is of course very international. But as you are saying, yeah, like it lacks the local vibe and the person who actually lives in like Koh Lanta, and that they could tell you something about the islands, something unique that you cannot really find on Google or you cannot like even find yourself. It has to be passed through from someone who has been here for a while. Did you already meet someone here in Koh Lanta?
I did, one person,
Mm-hmm.
but since I'm mostly here in the co-living, like attending the community events, I don't really have time to do much. And I'm enjoying it like this, like work, community stuff, work, repeat.
Okay. And when you do communicate with them, do you primarily use English or German or some other languages?
Well, that's like all the languages I speak, and German I don't really like to speak. So yeah, it's English. If you go to South America, the level of like people who speak English is like so low.
Mm-hmm.
So there is like sometimes it's really difficult. And if you chat with them through the apps, you sometimes don't even know that they're not speaking English because they're using translator. And then you figure it out when you meet them in person. Like, oh no, it's like we cannot even have a conversation. That's a little bit tricky. But yeah, normally I try to be quite picky and just go out to people who speak English because you cannot have conversation else.
Yeah, English does allow us to go deeper, more meaningful conversations, something more than just like exchanging words about food, if it's good or not, if you want to have more. But you do practice a bit of Spanish, yeah? And like, do you feel that at some point you will be confident or fluent enough to have those conversations in Spanish?
I hope so, but my English in general is also not the best. And then if you want to go to other languages like Spanish or Italian, I had Italian at school. Okay. I cannot have a conversation at all. So it would be nice, but for me, it's a big struggle. But I mean, in Spanish, I like understand things and like get my food, my SIM card, whatever in Spanish. That's already really good. But having a deep conversation, for now, definitely not.
Yeah, I'm in the same camp. Do try to learn as much as I can Spanish. I am still on the level that like basic interactions in shops or restaurants or some other places, and it's good enough, like I'm happy with what I already got because I started just like 2-3 years ago in Tenerife, and it's an interesting adventure, especially when I'm meeting some nomads who are fluent in already like 4 or 5 languages, and it's like
I love that.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Yeah.
And then when you see them in action, actually doing that, they are not like kidding. This is not like pretending that they do. So getting back to the places and connections that we made, thought that would be nice to just tell it in the podcast, our interesting story, how we met, because few people here asked us about this. And we were about to see each other in person in Tenerife, I think 4 years ago. But both of us, we were sailing. I was preparing to go out of the island. You were already on a boat, just going around the islands. So before we go to the next spot where we finally met, what's your sailing adventure? When did you decide to do it? And why are you interested in this?
It was very random. So the first time I was in a sailing boat was just when kind of the second lockdown hit. And I was like, what's the best way to escape Europe and be somewhere where you don't have to worry about lockdown? And it was a sailing boat. So I was this time in the south of Italy and wanted to go to Greece because they were quite relaxed with it, but only found a boat going to Tunisia. So I ended up in Tunisia.
Okay. And how did you arrive to the south of Italy? Flying or
no, train for sure.
Or trains, okay.
I went Milano was I think the last day where the border was open, and I was in Milano. There I was like, made it to Italy, and then I went all the way south with like one day, 8 hours. There was like a co living in the train. They had like proper tables and like chairs, like proper chairs, like we have now.
Okay.
And I
Interesting.
could work there for 8 hours. Was there, day done, explore. It was perfect. Yeah, and then went to the boat.
Okay. That's something I didn't know about you, but like so interesting that this is how it went. And then how long was the sailing, the passage?
I think it was like 3 nights, 4 days, something like this.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't know. It's maybe 400 nautical miles, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, arrived, had to do not vaccination, like
The testing.
The testing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. There in Tunisia. Yeah. There were.
No, in Italy actually.
Ah,
before
you start.
Exactly. Then we had like kind of quarantine on the boat.
Yeah.
And then in Tunisia they were kind of relaxed. It was officially closed, the border. Nobody could enter, but since we were doing quarantine, they were like, all right, fine. And that was weird. In Tunisia, it was like everything was so empty. I felt like I'm the only tourist. And one Airbnb host even told me like, wait, how are you supposed to be here? It's not possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you somehow managed to trick the system and to go through the water. Nobody would like foresee that.
Yeah, true. All good. No, it's nothing bad about it.
Mm-hmm. And the sailing itself, are you actually studying how to perform all the tasks on the boat and how to adjust for all the different kinds of winds and all the knowledge that is necessary for sailing? Or do you just enjoy being on it and whatever simple command someone is telling you, pull this, don't pull this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like a guy who likes to be on sea for endless, so I will never buy my own boat and do that. But sometimes it's nice to be on a boat and like experience it. I would say I'm on the level where I know where things are, what I can do, and can do it a little bit independently, but not that I could like skip a boat by myself.
Okay. It is very rewarding, I can tell you. Like, I was actually doing my sailing course in Tenerife before we met, and then I moved to the boat that was about to leave from Tenerife, where we were supposed to meet each other. And right now, I did sailing trip with my friends in Baltic Sea, from the Polish coast up to the Bornholm island. It's a Danish island, but close to Sweden. And it is like driving a car, because you do need to kind of coordinate and understand so many different little things that are happening around you. But it is a bit more challenging than driving a car, because in most cases, a car is very predictable. Yeah, you press the pedal to go forward, the other one to stop, you steer the wheel, and then it always goes the way you want to go. With a boat, it's a bit more tricky because the wind can blow or not, and the engine can work or not. Many different things can like affect your boat, and it's always in move. You cannot stop it. There is no such thing as a brake, which is also kind of weird. But the moment when you actually kind of harness the forces of nature and can, sail in the direction that you want to sail, it's really rewarding. Are you already planning some next sailing trip?
No, I mean, I just were on a sailing trip 3 months ago. I started in Sri Lanka and went over to the Maldives and had this once in a lifetime experience sailing in the Maldives. So yeah, this was a 2-week trip and was like, that's enough for the next couple of years, I would say.
Okay.
It was great, but...
Was it intense?
It was definitely intense, especially the first week from Sri Lanka to the Maldives. And I always get seasick, so...
Okay. Yeah, that's not a pleasant experience to feel it. I also felt seasick the first day or first night when we were crossing from Tenerife to Gibraltar. And your body feels so weak, yeah? And then like you cannot really help it because you cannot escape the boat.
Yeah. And you're there and it takes like 2 or 3 more days until you arrive there. And just this in your mind is like, oh no. But yeah, after a couple of days, normally it's like your body gets used to it and then it's pretty good, yeah. So I was even able on this trip the first week. I knew that probably I will be sick. It's like the time where we will be in rough sea. So I was not working, but the second week I was working from the boat. We had the Starlink on board.
Really?
So yeah, we had really good internet, and I was able to work on the boat. It was pretty nice.
The second week when you were you already like parked in a port?
No.
On an island?
So we had like no, it was not open sea, but we had the first week to cross, and then we were in the north of the Maldives. And the second week was kind of going between those islands, sailing through from this one island group to the next one. So sometimes we even had like mobile data, because between the islands they have quite good mobile data. But like Starlink was always on, so that was good. Yeah,
I was actually checking this out when we were crossing the Atlantic Ocean, and at that time Starlink didn't have this automatic adjustment. It was fixed, so you could only put it on the rooftop of a building, and you couldn't even move it. So I assume on the boat they had some sort of a gimbal?
Yeah, they have like a small motor inside, and it always adjusts to the satellites. Yeah.
Okay, and then the speeds were reliable, like as if we have like the Wi-Fi here?
Yeah, I did once, like when we were in the middle of the ocean, of the Indian Ocean, I did a speed test, and I think we had like 120 Mbits download.
Perfect.
So yeah, it was even
latency also low.
For sure higher than normal if you're on a cable, but it was really, really good. Yeah. So I think one day I even did like calls. No issue.
Yeah, you just told me that you had a call recently while you were in a hammock and your colleagues were like looking at you with your like swinging camera. So I can imagine there was this another time when you were on a boat and things are a little bit floaty all the time.
Yeah, that's if you're a coworker of mine, you have to deal with that.
Yeah, I can imagine that this is like not a pleasant experience for them to kind of constantly see you in different places. Even your boss is following you, on Instagram. Kind of like he knows where you are, what you do.
He kind of knows, but he's not really active on social media. But there's like a client who is following me quite actively on WhatsApp status, and he always knows where I am. It's funny, but yeah, they're like supportive.
Nice, yeah, because as long as the client is satisfied with your work that you deliver, they shouldn't mind you being in places and living your life. But before we will dive deep into the current setup and how do you work and what do you do, I just want to briefly go through the places that we finally saw each other.
We sidetracked a little bit, but all good.
No worries.
And we actually met via Nomad List, no?
So yes, that was the very beginning when the community was based on Slack. And I think we were chatting on Slack in the beginning, then we switched to WhatsApp or Signal. But I knew that our schedules were impossible to match with the two different boats. And months later, I was participating for the very first time in the WordCamp Europe in Porto, Portugal. That was for me the first time to go to actually like a big WordPress event. And for you, it was like one of many, but you were searching the website, the participants, like people who are on it. And I was one of them. So what happened next?
Yeah, so it was probably my fourth WordCamp Europe. And so I know people from the community. So I'm always interested to see who is there, like who I'm going to meet maybe, or maybe not. And so I always scroll the pictures and I'm like names I cannot remember, but pictures, faces I can. Yeah. So I saw your picture and I was like, this is familiar. And I was like, wait, from where? And I was like, oh yeah, here. And then I texted you. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I remember it was so funny to kind of discover, a message like, okay. I also needed to kind of connect the dots like, oh yeah, we were supposed to see each other back in Spain. And now we are in Portugal. So from that event, like when we spent some time together, the next year, the next WordCamp Europe in Athens, in Greece, we actually arranged to share the apartment. So from my perspective, this is such a nice development of those nomadic connections, and also the fact that we are both involved in the WordPress ecosystem, that going to big events like those where a lot of places are booked out, like Airbnb, can be like not really sufficient to give you any viable options. And then sharing an apartment with someone who is actually doing the same thing, it's like so much nicer. We can both work from the same apartment, or like cook together, do activities together. And then after that, that was Tagazout in Morocco. So I don't remember now. Did we also like arrange that?
Yeah, we did. And I mean, you're always the guy who knows about co-livings and
Yes.
good vegan restaurants.
Yes.
And so I always follow you. So yeah, you were researching some co-livings. There are two good ones in Tagazout, and the one was full, and then you switched to the other one.
Yeah.
And I was just following. All good.
Yeah, and we both sign up for the surf camp. So the co-living that we were staying is focused on giving all of the equipment that you need and the instructors and classes every day for surfing, because the Tagazout is known especially for surfing. And there is actually also like a really good vegan cafe restaurant down the road where I was going quite often, and I really like it in Morocco. So we'll give the notes, the links to those in show notes for this podcast. And most recently, we met in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. That was just a few weeks ago before coming here to Thailand.
Yeah, that was pretty random actually, because I was supposed to be in Japan and I knew you are in Kuala Lumpur. But at the time where I booked Kuala Lumpur, I forgot it. And then when I came, I was like, oh yeah, we are at the same place. We are supposed to meet in a couple of weeks, but not now.
Yeah. I was also thinking that the next time we'll be only here in Thailand, but because of the change of the schedule on your side, it happened that like, yeah, cool, let's hang out in Kuala Lumpur. There were some other Polish friends visiting me at the time, so we managed to go out for a dinner. And I would say this is also something that when I started traveling, I had this notion that anyone that I meet and anyone that I kind of have a good vibe and want to spend some time, sooner or later I would need to say goodbye and never see them again. Especially with like couch surfing when I started back in Poland actually, but then going abroad. And most of the connections through couch surfing were time limited. Because of like the backpackers lifestyle. I think it's kind of like you do this for a while and then you don't. And with this one, it's like so surprising that you're like one of few people that I meet regularly, even if the regularly means like once a year. But at least we have this continuity that anywhere I go, I know that, okay, there are friends that I like, that I want to spend time with. And it's not that I have to yet again, create a new relationship with someone new. Do you have something similar?
I mean, one evening where we were out for dinner, you were asking me this question, and now I had to think. I was like, yeah, you are the person I meet the most throughout all these years.
Not intentionally. It's kind of like it happened.
Yeah. I mean, nomads are traveling a lot. And you think, oh no, you will never have like overlap again.
Yeah.
But we are very flexible. So if we want, we can make it happen. And this is how it works in our case, no? And with like other people where they are like in one place, it is this one-time experience, no? Because you go there and you probably don't come back. Or if you come back, maybe they move to another city or so. Yeah. But with digital nomads, you're moving and you're flexible.
Yeah, and the movement can be coordinated through any chat apps, or the nomad list is actually helping to overlap and show how many days we spend together in different places. Yeah, like that's also like a nice feature that I checked, that we have around 70 days already that we spend in
70.
Yeah,
Whoa.
70. Yeah. It's like excellent. Yeah, it really means that even though the world is big and in theory, the connections and the movements are like so random, then once you can make it happen intentionally. And then the second thing is that actually the nomadic destinations are quite limited, especially if you're really enjoying being in like co-workings or co-livings. There are only like few of them that are really good and are really being recommended through everyone else. So sooner or later you will go and you will find people there, and then you will see them again and again and again and again.
That's true. There's some hubs. One's of these is where we are now. Yeah. And there are literally not a lot. Yeah. Which is sad. And then there is like no platform or something you can find them. No, there's just somebody recommends you and then everybody goes there.
Yeah. It is interesting to think in general if we should have some like dedicated social media platform only for us. But then there is already so many, and a lot of people use Instagram to see where people are, and then this creates a lot of drive for going to places. Many of us prefer Twitter, but more tech focused people following all the changes in our industry. And then like the Nomad List is definitely one of those communities that doesn't try to build something completely new, like a new social media, but rather integrate the people who are doing that, who are interested in doing so. And then none of this is perfect. Yeah, because even while we're traveling, sometimes changes and we forget to change the scheduling on the website. So yeah, it's nice that we manage to meet each other in different places, regardless of all the changes. Let's switch gears and talk about Switzerland, and specifically you being a Swiss. And I think I told you this, that you are like the first person actually from Switzerland that I meet and learn so much about the culture and places. So instead of trying to touch on some things that are known in pop culture, oh, Swiss do that or Swiss don't do this, I'm more curious about those little like cultural quirks or things that you mentioned me. So I would like to understand how it is that Swiss people are so punctual to the point that they have to use software for scheduling even like the most casual meetups with their friends.
I don't know where it's coming from. For sure, we are famous for watches, and this is like punctual, no? And then our train is a little bit like Japan. They're very punctual. And so I think people that just want to have like know what they're doing, like have a plan during the day. When I'm going to do that, when that, whatever. Yeah. So I guess this is coming from that way. Then we have this one app, but I think it's not really special for Switzerland, where you try to find like the overlaps where you have time. Because if you have 5 people and you try to make an appointment with somebody, people are busy nowadays, and it's hard to find like a time where everybody has the time. So we have this one app in Switzerland where you can like find the overlapping.
What's the name of it?
Doodle.
Doodle.
Yeah. So we say we do a doodle, and then everybody knows.
Okay, but then for this app to work, all of the people involved, they need to connect their calendars. Yeah, so they already need to use their calendars efficiently to block.
You can connect it, but you just get like the dates and the times, and then you can say, I'm free there or not, and then just like tick the box or not. Yeah. Okay, but you could connect it with like your Google Calendar or whatever. Yeah.
Okay, so I find it a bit funny, especially spending quite a lot of time in Southeast Asia or the southern part of Europe, where Italian or Spanish or Portuguese also, they are all very laid back and never punctual. And the concept of time is just so fluid. And to some degree, I like it. Yeah, I don't want to be rushed. I don't want to keep my life to the point, to the second, as my calendar is telling me. So how do you find yourself being in those tropical places? Do you wish sometimes people would do more things like Swiss, or did you like already adjust it to how the locals are?
I guess at the beginning it was kind of hard because I'm not the typical Swiss, I would say, but still I want to know what we're going to do during the day or like what my schedule is. And I have like everything in my calendar, not to be like punctual, just to know when things are and I don't forget it because I forget stuff. And yeah, I think that's it.
Cool. Okay. There is a particular sport that we were talking about, and I was surprised that in Switzerland that you have actual paths for it. So how it is that rollerblading is the thing in Switzerland, that you have a lot of long paths to just use these wheels on your boots. So can you tell me more about this?
I think the roads for bicycling, a little bit like in the Netherlands, are quite good. And since they're mostly like paved with like good surface, you can use them for rollerblading. And then there is this one map where they show like all the tracks for bicycling, and one kind of filter is also map for rollerblading. And there is like, you could almost cross the full country from like east to west on rollerblades on proper surface.
Wow.
Which is it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
We are still looking forward to do this together. We haven't set it yet in the calendar, so we don't have precise plans for it. I actually needed to throw away my rollerblades because when I left Australia more than 4 years ago, before the pandemic, I left my rollerblades, like some other things, at my brother's basement. And unfortunately, it was very, very humid. So all of the sports stuff got dumped and damaged when I finally get back to Australia, to Sydney, to my brother. And now I need to buy new stuff, but I'm happy to put some money into proper gear and finally do this. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this activity and also to swimming in the river in Bern.
That's where we end our trip. And then
yeah, so how it is that people are actually swimming in the river during summer, of course, but apparently it's like a big thing.
Yeah, it's like a big social gathering. So Bern, the capital of Switzerland, has this big river, is kind of surrounded by it. So the river goes around the city and it's swimmable. It's quite deep in the middle, so it has like a current. Yeah, it's not that slow. But people can go inside there and swim, or on a small boat, like a rubber boat, just float down. And on the weekends, like, people love to do that, like have the refreshment and a nice summer day, relax by the river, or just like jump inside and float down.
Perfect. You don't even need to have a swimming pool in Bern.
There's like it's a free one. You can just go.
Okay.
It's actually at the end where people normally like leave the river.
So the swimming pool is like a part of the river, using the water from the river, or is an artificial?
No. It's like artificial one, just next to it. But I don't know. I think the city, and it's like free for everybody. It's not that you have to pay entrance.
For anyone who doesn't want to go into the river.
Yeah, because it's a big social gathering. In general, Bern in summer is a lot of coffees. People are outside chilling on some, like just by the river or around the swimming pools to tan and read, play like some sports.
So cool. And then you also mentioned that the biggest trip you can do is from the lake, and then it takes you a few hours to get to the city. Do you need to prepare for it?
Yeah, not really prepare, but when they rent like proper boats, I think you need to wear these suits or these life vests. Since there is current and it can be dangerous. Yeah, you have to wear that. And a lot of people there are just like drinking beers while floating down. So they get more tipsy by the end of by like arriving in Bern, the city. And also, I think you have to write your name on the boat. In case like a boat gets lost and there's like an empty boat, then who they need to search for.
Okay. So you're actually renting the boat.
You can do both. You can rent and then they do like the service. You can rent it at the start and like just leave it at the end, or do the full adventure and like blow it up and like bring it there and go like in the metro with the boat at the end. Whatever.
Yeah, sounds amazing. I saw some pictures and I would never think about Switzerland being also like a summer destination for doing this kind of typical summer activities. As you said, it's mostly mountainous country where skiing and this kind of winter vibe is dominant, or at least in the pop culture, the image of Switzerland is like this. And this is also an image of Switzerland, those, forgot the proper name, guys on skis with rifles. Is that like a part, like a special type of, because I know it's a Olympic sport that you go on the skiers and then you shoot.
Like
I think it was invented in Switzerland,
country
wasn't it?
skiing. I don't know, like
Yeah,
biathlon, or I don't know.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's invented in Switzerland, but it's kind of big. Yeah, I mean, country skiing in general is quite big, or getting bigger even. But this is like a combination, like of shooting, which is, I don't know if it's like from Switzerland.
But is there any special type of the law enforcement that would be on skis with their rifles or guns to patrol and be sure that everything is secure and safe in skis and resorts and in the mountains?
I mean, these you don't really see like just doing like that, because that's only if they have like some championships or they do it like almost professional.
Yeah.
Else they just do like country skiing and like train for that. But I don't think there is like some law enforcement or something.
Okay. So that was more kind of a prelude for the question about the military service.
I see. Yeah.
So that's something that is mandatory in Switzerland for all the men. So how does it work?
Because in Switzerland, it's quite a small country, and well, we're neutral, but still we have to protect somehow. Every man has to go to an army, and it's around a year, so like 360 days. You have to be there, and it has two parts. The first one is 18 weeks. You have to do basic training. And afterwards, it's like every year for 3 to 4 weeks until you done your days, and then you're normally around 28, and then you're out. And then it starts with the rival. Then everybody has a rival at home until around 34, 35, and then you're out of the army, and then you have to give it back. But until then, everybody has like a rival at home.
No, but they give you some special type of rifle to keep at home?
I don't know which one it actually is. I mean, I was in the army and I had it at home, but I forgot. What
you forgot your rifle?
No. The type of rifle.
Okay, but since you are not having an apartment anymore in Switzerland, and most of the year you're spending abroad, so do you keep your rifle at your parents' place?
Yeah, I mean, I moved out of the army and like switched to another like department, let's say. But my brother, for example, he has the rifle at my parents' place. Yeah, and when he needs to go to army, he always comes there like shit. I need to find it, and like goes up to
attic.
Yeah, like try to find it, like all the gear and like shoes and whatsoever.
Interesting. Okay, so this is specifically separated that when you are 18, that's the time when you go to the army to have all the training, and then they made it on purpose that year after year you have some short periods.
It's like repetitive courses, so it's kind of that you don't forget.
Sure. And then the civic service that you are doing, is that something that you can already being like 18 and tell them that, okay, I want to switch, or you can change it afterwards? How this works?
Yeah, so you can do it from the beginning. The only kind of downside is you get more days. So it's like the normal days of service times 1.5.
Significantly more.
Yeah, because they want to have more people in the army.
Yeah.
The other thing is more useful actually and social, but the army don't really like it, so they try to not make it like that attractive.
Okay.
So in my case, I switched in the middle, and this also changes. Some years it's like harder to do, some years not. Then they change some laws. In my case, it was very, very simple to go out. So I just tried to do like the base training, and then after that like switch, because I didn't want to go back to army every like year for like 3 weeks and do some useless stuff. Actually, I want to do something useful in like the social area.
Okay, and if you would switch to the civil service, what is the range of activities, or how much freedom do you have that, I want to do some farming, or I want to work with the immigrants?
Yeah, that's actually a good thing. You're very, very flexible. If you're normally in the army, you get like a date and you have to go there. And in the civil service, you can choose everything. So they have like kind of this big job board kind of where you can select. So they sort it a little bit by activities like hospital, farming, or whatever, agriculture. And then you can choose based on that and like even select the dates. You can also even select the length of it. There's a minimum of like 3 weeks. But if you want and you have time, you could do all in one and then you're done.
What do you mean?
Like all the days in one. You can stay like half a year at the farmer and then you're done.
And then you are done until...
Yeah, you're done.
Like forever.
Yeah. Because you did your days. Yeah. But since I was working, I cannot do it. So 3 weeks is like a time where my company is okay. And it's usual because everybody who's going to the army, they need to do that.
Yeah.
So you normally do it like this. But if I would be about to like quit my job and like maybe do a little bit of traveling, then I would do like half a year and I'm done now.
Yeah. That sounds really interesting and makes so much sense. Yeah, that the government requires their citizens to fulfill this duty, but then you do have an option how you want to adjust it, how you want to complement with your current work or social and family situation. And you also told me that the moment you are going and doing the 3 weeks, 1 month civil service, the government is actually paying the money to your company to cover the costs of you not being there.
Exactly. Since it's mandatory by the country, they have to replace it somehow. So yeah, I get my normal salary and just the company is going to the government and saying, okay, he's not here for 3 weeks. We need some money for it. Yeah, and then they just continue paying 80% of my normal salary.
And then, just out of curiosity, since Switzerland is divided in cantons, and then the language in every canton can be different, do you also have the flexibility that you can go anywhere else outside of the German-speaking cantons?
I could, yeah. In full Switzerland, the civil service, I can choose whatever I want. Yeah, for sure. If I want to like learn some French, for example, that would be a good way to like do kind of an exchange, half year, for example. No?
Yes.
I'm actually where I'm normally going in summer. I'm working at a farmer. It's the 4th official language, so they speak Romance there. So I'm there, and like the family speaks Romance. But since they all speak perfect Swiss German, it's not an issue for me. But it's funny because the kids, they prefer to speak Romance to the parents. And now I'm there and I don't understand anything. And I'm just like 40 kilometers away from my home where I grew up.
Yeah, it is so interesting that when I learn about it, you usually correspond one language to one specific nation and one specific country. And Switzerland seemed to be very prosperous democracy, rich country with a long history and having so much. But yet, at the same time, they don't have one language. And you still manage to kind of talk to each other throughout like hundreds of years. So, and then like even develop the Romance language, as separate thing from all of the German, Italian, French parts.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting, actually. And so how I speak to somebody from the Western part, since I don't speak French, I speak English, which is not an official language in Switzerland. It's quite...
But then most people would speak it, especially like our generation.
Most, but you know how the French people are. They don't really... Also, the Swiss French are like this.
They are the same.
Yeah, maybe they have a little bit better like education. but the mindset is still the same.
Interesting. Okay, so switching to your work, because you mentioned that your employer can get some funds from the government when you are doing your civil service or your military service, and they seem to be very flexible with your current lifestyle. Yeah, so how it is that you managed to find this one specific web development agency that gives you so much freedom, and then you are with them for 6 years or more? How it is?
Yeah, so I was working in this one agency before where they were not that flexible and didn't even allow home office.
Mm.
So after I started traveling like in my holiday,
Mm.
I was like, I have to change and I want to keep traveling and working.
Mm.
So I was searching for companies who allow me that. And I went into the interviews or by mails and asked, the first question I asked was like, remote, yes or no? If there was no, it's like, okay, not for me. So I found this one company, which was maybe 5 or 6 people. Mm-hmm. So quite a small company who had like some interesting project. I was like mainly interested in the work they did. Mm-hmm. And I asked them if it's possible to do remote work. And they were like, yeah, nobody's doing it, but try it. So I was kind of the trial test person. And yeah, then I started my first trip to Portugal. And there I was telling to my boss, maybe I have to reduce it to 50% during that time because I don't know how much work I get done. No? Yeah. And I want to do work and deliver stuff. And he was like, yeah, all good. Just like let me know and we can very flexible. But I could keep my 80% or my normal work schedule. It was all good. Yeah. So amazing, how flexible.
Yeah. And then it seems that they do have the office, like the physical location where most of your colleagues are coming, or all of your colleagues except you. So how is this dynamic? Because it's so much data or like connections that are made by just being in one place and connecting every day, talking over the coffee about things at work, and then it seems that you are the only one who's remote. Do you feel that is the hard part or not really?
I mean, sure, I miss out a lot of these coffee break talks, but mostly they are not that high level anyways. And yeah, I mean, sometimes you have like some nice ideas and like brainstorm things. Sure, I miss that. But on the other hand, I prefer my lifestyle than like missing out on a coffee break talk. But it used to be like this, that I was the only one. But nowadays, we are 16 people, I think. Mm-hmm. There is one coworker who is a lot in Colombia, one guy who just actually was in Morocco this time. And he tries to start it. And we had like one coworker who did like the same. I was traveling in the Canaries actually with him for like 2 months. Mm-hmm. And like co-working with him, that was fun as well. Cool. Like same company, same projects even. And doing it just remote. Yeah, so I'm not the only one now, but still most people are in the office. And yeah, it's kind of office or someone remote. And I guess after COVID, it changed a bit because after COVID, a lot of people started doing like hybrid. Yeah. Doing 2 days at home office. So we have a lot of meetings and there's always half of the people are in the meeting room and the other half are remote. Yeah. And this helps me a lot. It used to be there was like this company-wide meeting, everybody in the meeting room and me not there. And that's weird.
Yeah, it is. But your boss was from the very beginning, very open about this and very flexible. Yeah, that he definitely wanted you to be there and to give you this freedom. So in terms of all the important talks outside of the meetings, like the commendation or the knowledge base in your company, is like Slack the primary tool for everyone to talk to each other, to coordinate, or do you use some other things to make sure that even when you are remote, everything is done?
We have 3 systems, I guess. So Slack is for communication. We have Notion for all the documentation. And then we have GitLab for, since we're like coding mostly, we do the project management in GitLab. So
directly.
yeah, it's like all the comments, like tickets, whatever, like everything which has to be done is there. Notion then is more about documentation and kind of the scheduling, like kind of long-term project scheduling about the dates and like when we have to deliver.
Nice. So the 3 different platforms, but they can be linked up, and synced, and there are some direct integrations also.
Yeah, exactly. Especially Slack. If you open issue in GitLab, it goes into Slack, and so I don't really even check my mails that often. Everything is on Slack.
So good to know that from the beginning it's set up correctly and it works and it grows.
Yeah, and we had it set up perfectly before COVID. We didn't have Notion back then, but like Slack and GitLab was always a thing. And when COVID started and everybody had to go work from home, we had nothing to change. Everything was like perfect. For me, it was even great because I had now everybody was remote.
Nice. Okay. And the 80% that you mentioned, it's definitely one of those very interesting parts that a lot of people or companies and even countries are trying to implement, or at least to discuss, that the work week should actually be 4 days, not 5 days. And in your case, you said it also from the beginning, when you said that you were not able or not sure if you are able to do 100%. Is that only because you want to travel and have more freedom, or there are other reasons?
No, like actually the 4 workday week, I started, I think, when I was 19. I want to have 1 day where I do like some side projects, some like self-development, whatever. So I started doing that. And once if you're in this 80%, you never go back to 100%.
Yes.
And so I kept that. But when I was starting to traveling, I was even not sure if I can keep this 80%, if I should like do half, like 50%. But yeah, it worked out. Like 80%, I think is quite good for me because you have like this 1 extra day, which you can move around in terms when you're traveling. You don't have to travel on the weekend because normally like flights are more expensive on the weekend. So you can do it on a Friday. Normally like my day off is Friday. And that's how it is set up in like the project management. But they're flexible again. So I can like sometimes move around. If I find like a cheap flight on a Wednesday, then I just put in my off day on Wednesday. And that's fine.
Excellent. So yet again, the company, it's called What We Do.
What We Do, yeah.
The little Swiss agency is giving you so much freedom. And then it's definitely a recurring theme in my other episodes in this podcast, where we are always focusing that it's about what you deliver. Because work should be measured not by how many hours are you staring on your computer, but like, are you actually giving the output? So it's so nice to hear that for you, it's obvious. It's by default that you want to just work the 4 days a week, that it can be flexible. You can switch it between the different days in a week. And I also saw it, that seeing you here in the co-working or elsewhere, that sometimes when things happen, like health-wise or otherwise, you can work on Sunday. But then you would have 2 days in between for free. So in that regard, do you try to keep any specific routine in terms of which days are you actually working or not?
I was at the beginning, I was more flexible about that. And that I was like working in the evening, weekends, whatever. And now since I go back more to co-working places, I try to have like a more like routine, like office style routine. I'm not the early bird, so I'm not showing up before 9, for sure not. It's more like between 9 and 11. But I sometimes start to work from home already a little bit, and then at some point make the switch to the co-working space. And since I'm more productive in the evening, I go out for food and then I continue working a little bit. Yeah, it really depends. But I try to block my off days now. So like Friday is kind of holy for me. I don't really want to work on Friday. I want to like do some project on Friday for myself. And the weekend also not. Only if there is like some strange things happening and I really have to like crazy deadline or something like that.
Mm. So what are those side projects that you are currently working on?
Yeah, it's always changing. Right now I'm a little bit focused on like my reviews. So I used to, or I still like to write, but I don't really have time. So I started doing my reviews, like yearly reviews about my travels, and I'm very, very behind. I think my last review was from 2020. Now we're in 2024. So,
but you still have some notes, yeah, or you remember what happened?
Yeah, when I go through it, I go through the Google Photos, and since I do a lot of pictures, I remember. But yeah, it's a lot of work and it's so much traveling. And then I have a lot of pictures, and I like to edit them and like make them nice and look nice. If you like scroll through the article, I have a lot of pictures, but it's so much work and like editing them. Yeah, so but that's something I really want to like get back to.
I think currently like the most up-to-date pictures or shots are on your Instagram, since it's the easiest to take it and share it. But the actual kind of high quality pictures and shots, that's something you kind of keep on your drive. And then do you want to publish them on your blog eventually or some other places?
My most recent pictures are always in the Instagram stories. Those are not that great quality, but fine enough for like social media. And then the post on Instagram, like the post itself, the pictures, they are normally quite like old because those are the ones I edited. And once I edit them, I post them. Or also like in this review, I really like to add the good ones. And so right now I'm kind of trying to edit them, and then there will be a bunch on Instagram again, since I edit a lot. Yeah.
I think I have a similar case that I'm trying to keep up or catch up with all of the previous travels and like make some sort of like yearly reviews. But I do feel it's rewarding, especially for me, just to keep my memory intact, and going through the pictures that I took definitely helps me to not forget what happened when. But just for future reference, I don't know, in 20, 30 years, I would love to have this nicely organized track of what I did when.
Yeah, that's one reason why I do it, to keep track of it, and maybe also to inspire other people. People normally give me quite good feedbacks because there's a lot of pictures and like inspiring, like, oh, crazy travels, which it is, yeah. And like looking back in maybe 20 years to these experiences, it's like, that's pretty nice.
Yeah. I think I still remember my inspirations, like the people that I met when I was like 16, 17 and stopped traveling with my parents, with my family as a passenger, but more being active and working in travel industry, and then being very intrigued by the people who were going to different continents and going into caves or some other extreme sports or some exploration that wasn't popular, that wasn't something that you would even see on TV, and that definitely gave me a lot of power to pursue my own dreams and my own travels. And I think that now, like that more or less 20 years in my case passed since I was 16. So I can imagine there could be like another 16-year-old listening to this story, to this podcast, and then being intrigued, like, oh, okay, maybe I can do that too. In terms of the side projects, you also told me that you had this AI travel idea with one of the friends that we met in Morocco. Is that also something you want to pursue, or would you like maybe move on to other things?
Yeah, for now it's a little bit on hold. Mostly those side projects are for me just to like improve my skills and like try out something new. So back then, like AI was huge, still is huge, or there it was new, and I was like, oh, let's try it. Let's see what we can do with it. And I was building something. At some point, we didn't saw like potential to like really continue it. But maybe if we tweak a little bit, we can like do still something really nice. We were we were about to build something, and just recently, like a month ago, something popped up which was exactly what we wanted to build. And yeah, it's fun to see that. Yeah, so somebody did it. Yeah, and they did it really well. But for me, it's not. Oh no, somebody did it. Now we cannot do it anymore. It's like nice, and I learned from it. No, so I'm happy with it.
Yeah. And now you are doing this tracking page or tracking projects for cyclists in Switzerland.
Yeah, exactly. So we already talked about it, like with the rollerblading. Cycling is quite big in Switzerland, and especially the kind of the passages cycling, like going up a lot of height meter, going down, is also very big. And so now I'm working on a platform where people can track that, and it's kind of like a virtual race between them, because normally those workouts or like sports you do alone, and
you just measure your own time.
Exactly, and in this way you can like connect them and like compare with others. And yeah, it's like, again, for me, it's something which is technically interesting, kind of track it and like compare it. But if somebody finds it very, very useful, that would be really nice. No?
Cool. So why are you specifically focusing on Switzerland in this kind of project?
I think Switzerland is quite special in that case, that they have a lot of passages, and like the culture of bikers is like big. And the other thing is, like, my friend who is doing it with me, who's like doing kind of the marketing, is Swiss-based bicycle guy or biking guy.
He knows the
people,
yeah,
and I'm just a tech guy.
Exactly. Cool. So in the end, they will be able to upload their like Strava GPS track, or any other device app they are using, and then see some sort of a leaderboard, like who was the fastest or between friends and whatnot. Is it also possible to do this like live, like on their smartphones or something, to see, someone else doing that in comparison to their current performance?
I mean, not live that you can do it right now. You will upload it after you've done it, and then on like a per day basis you can like compare it. And yeah, exactly, there will be like a leaderboard. There is different measurements where you can compare like timing, who's like the fastest in like completing the full challenge.
Yeah. Okay. So like different charts and championships.
Yeah.
Okay. It would be really cool. I remember years ago, my girlfriend at the time, she participated in Ironman, the super challenging sport activity where you are swimming, then you are doing full marathon. Then you are switching the bike, and then you are doing the full marathon. And it was all in Nice, in France. And like, I don't think they had it. Like, maybe they would have it right now, but that's what I was missing. Yeah, like to look on the website, and like even after the whole event, to have this kind of charts and all the things that you can kind of click and interact and then see, who did what in what time, and with some like nice visualizations, like you can actually see the path, instead of just times, which is like so rudimentary. Do you also have like designing parts of it, like, or someone who is doing the design to make it nice for eyes?
Yeah, we have like one designer, so we are three: one marketing, design, and tech, me. So for now we try to make it very, very basic. We just have like the rankings, but yeah, we also want to have like something with the tracks where you can compare. But the tracks are normally the same, because there's the road. You have to go from this point to the other one. So there's not much to compare, but maybe with the speed you can like do some overlays or something interesting. Yeah, but it's a lot of work. So at the beginning, we really want to stick to like some core concepts.
And then, is it anyhow connected to some official events that are happening in Switzerland?
Not directly. We're doing some marketing with like another event who is also, like a little bit in the same area. They're not doing it online, but it's kind of a year-round event where you tick off a couple of mountain passes. Then you get kind of a score or like a budget, and you achieved it. So we're working with them a little bit together, but yeah, let's see how it turns out.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see the different side projects of yours evolve, because as you said, it's primarily about self-development, learning, testing, and getting some experience. And then if it works, if it's published or being accessible by others, then be nice to see it and test it myself. In terms of finances, because that's one of the things that a lot of digital nomads are struggling, or like you're looking for the best ways to do this. And then Switzerland being this place known for having the banks, and the kind of wealthy society. I remember one of our first conversations was actually about them, and that they are not so great anymore. Why is that? Why the Swiss banks are not great?
I mean, the Swiss banks were always kind of shady. And they're focusing on big money. And for that, they're still good. To like store your money in like a secure place. But for me, as a traveler, going outside of Switzerland and not using my money within Switzerland is not that great. You have a lot of fees. Exchange rates are not really good. So yeah, it's like to save the money and keep it there, okay, but not for something else.
Yeah, I think that aligns with the notion that you have to be like high income individual to like open your Swiss bank account, because why would you do that if you don't want to rely on some like known institution with a long history to keep your funds actually secure? So this is unsurprisingly, but you're also using Wise and Revolut as your like main accounts traveling. Do you prefer one over another?
Yeah, so I was using Revolut for quite a bit, and at some point like started to switching to Wise. Because Revolut was a little bit in this, we make everything really cheap, like low fees. And now they're removing more and more of those and are not that transparent. And I think Wise is doing way better. It's very stable. They're having their fees, and over the years, they're keeping them and don't try to hide anything. And so my main travel account is now Wise. Still have Revolut as a kind of a backup. Yeah, and kind of also juggle between those limitations they have. A free withdrawal, for example. I just use both.
Yeah. But you don't use the subscription.
No, it made never sense for me to. I don't know if Wise has something like that as well, but Revolut made never sense for me to like pay for it. Yeah, I don't get that back.
In my case, I am using the Plus or Premium plan, forgot the name, but the one that gives you like unlimited exchange between currencies, in Revolut. I was comparing this for sure for a while between the two services, and then Wise is transparent, but they take the fee from any amount. So it doesn't matter if it's like 100 euro or like 5,000 euro a month, there's always a fee. And then in Revolut, I think if you are exchanging over 1,000 euro every month, then it's cheaper to pay whatever 7-8 euro per month, and then remove this cap, remove exchange fee, which is like for me very useful because I still get quite a lot of money in my own currency from Poland in Polish zloty, then using a lot of stuff in euro or US dollars, or like being in Malaysia or Thailand, you have the local currencies. So
this is always a exchange, and this adds up. But that's again, if you have like one Wise account and one Revolut, you can use both exactly, and then you probably don't hit this threshold unless you have other transactions who are also exchanges.
Yeah. But then when you book your Airbnb, you use your Swiss account.
Exactly. That's why I'm using it, because Airbnb is charging me in Swiss francs.
Yeah.
So I can use my local credit card, and then it's not an exchange because, as we talked about, exchange rate are really bad, but it's Swiss francs.
Yeah.
And I even can add some miles for like flights or whatever. And also those have really bad exchange rates actually, even those travel friendly. But since it's Swiss francs, it's fine.
And this is also a currency that is being used internationally. In a lot of places, like Swiss francs, booking a flight or booking an apartment, they accept you to make the transaction online with your own currency, and then the exchanges offered by them, like for Airbnb, I think they have like super low. Like you would not really see the difference if you would switch from the Swiss francs to like Thai bahts.
In Airbnb, I never really checked, but I think it's pretty okay. For example, Booking, they don't do that. They normally charge in the local currency. They would change it for you. You sometimes can do it, but then the exchange rate is not that great. Sometimes or mostly still better than what the Swiss banks would give me.
Yes.
But yeah, if you would do it with Revolut, it would be cheaper.
So speaking about like different apps or services that are helping you when you're traveling, do you have anything specific, like the one thing that you always take with you?
Like apps or gadgets in general?
Yeah, in general.
So gadgets, it's like interesting. I'm sure you have like your wallet, your phone, whatever you need, And I always have a camera with me, like this small DJI action camera. And it's so small, it fits in my pocket. And I always have it with me. And I really like to have something, because there is kind of, you can do it your view. It's like not like with the picture, or if you have a big camera, it's like special. You just take it out and nobody really sees it because it's so small sometimes. And you just record it. Yeah. And you have it in your moment.
I saw you using it during the Songkran, the annual festive day in Thailand, where they actually celebrate their New Year's Eve, which follows the Buddhist calendar. And it happens somewhere in April. But what is amazing is that it's one big water bottle. So everyone is like shooting or using big buckets to throw the water on each other. And then the camera that you're using, it's waterproof. Yeah. So you can still do those action shots even when the water is splashing you. Did you record some nice shots?
I did some, but if it's only like half is waterproof. So it's kind of two parts. And the one is like the camera itself has a monitor on the back. And the other part is like battery bank and another monitor. And with that, it's not waterproof. So only like the top part is waterproof. And then you don't have a big battery, no? So I was not able to record very, very much, but I did like some good shots. Yeah.
How long does it last, the battery on the small thing?
I think it was like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Yeah.
So really short.
Yeah, but normally it's fine to have like some impressions. Yeah. And then I'm again the bad person who is not doing the editing, who's just like it's like somewhere on the computer and it's not getting it done.
Yeah, I wouldn't say you're a bad person. It's more like your preference, that you know what you like, which also like connects to the other side projects that you're doing, that you're a cameraman, that you do some live events recording this, and you only prefer to record it. You don't want to like sit in the studio and then cut the material, prepare it, and then add music or some other effects. How come you even like started to become the cameraman?
Yeah, to become the cameraman, that was like the dream as a little kid. Like other people want to be like a fire worker or astronaut, and I was like, I want to be a cameraman.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, that was the big dream when I was, I think, 10 years old. I was like, cameraman, that's it. And then I started.
Did you have one like as a child to play with?
Yeah, I got like some old cameras from my dad.
Okay.
And then I think I had my first phone when I was like 14 years old. Like this 1 megapixel camera and this editing software on it actually, where I could like edit it or like do some video clips. Yeah, pretty crazy, but I love to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I got bigger cameras, started to edit as well. And at some point I started to do apprenticeship in this area actually, like as a mediamatician it's called, but it's like it was in a video production company.
Cool.
But this company was not doing that well. So after 2 years of this apprenticeship, it ran out of money. So I had to switch.
Okay.
And that's where I kind of did my transition into web development. I was like kind of forced to do it, but I liked both.
Yeah.
But then I still kept my like passion for video and photography. But then this was more like like another side project or like side job.
Yeah.
And that's also why I also always kept my 80% work pensum, because the other 20 or the weekends was like used as working as a freelance cameraman for mostly TV, like live events. Yeah.
What was the biggest event that you were recording?
I think it was a world championship of orienteering running. I don't know if you know it, but it's like very, very big in like Scandinavia. You have like GPS coordinates and you have to run like through the forest and like tick.
I did that as a kid and as a teenager, that you actually have like a piece of paper with coordinates and like you have to, find yourself where you are through the forest and collect some points or something on the trees.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. We did this for the Swiss national TV. Did like the worldwide feed or broadcast.
Were you running, following the other runners?
No. We had like stationary. We had so there was a week of world championship in France actually, and they had different races in the cities, shorter distances, and then like some big distances up somewhere in the mountains. And we had between 8 and 18 cameras per race. So it was like a huge production. And also the area is so big.
Yeah. So how many cameramen?
Yeah, so like 18 cameramans. Yeah, and then
one of them.
Yeah, they were all operated.
Yeah.
And then you had the production van. You had around 6-7 people working, like the cutter, the one who's like doing the
switch between the shots. Wow.
Yeah, and then you had like graphics, like the times.
Yeah.
And then there you actually had this map where you saw all the because everybody has a GPS, and then you saw those bubbles like running around, like because sometimes they were not close to the cameras, so you had no ideas where they are.
Yeah, and you have to somehow coordinate the.
Yeah, and then also tell the cameramans, somebody's coming, like, watch out.
Stop eating the sandwich.
That was very interesting. When I was 16 years old, I had this production. So I was very new. I would say, still the biggest production, but it was amazing for me to see all this tech and like cameras, huge cameras, and how to set it up. We had like to roll out the cables for the connection to the cameras. It's crazy. I think I calculated once we had 35 kilometers of cable we were laying on the floor in this week. 35 kilometers of cable.
Yeah, to connect all those 18 cameras.
Yeah, and every day was another race,
And then they were steering through a satellite?
Yeah, so even some cameras, we had them via satellite wired to our van. Yeah, so like point to point, And they did like some amazing shots because they were high up and they had these crazy zoom cameras, like crazy.
The lens that is like a sniper rifle.
Exactly. But they did like crazy shots. And those were wired into the van via satellite or like point to point. It's not satellite. And then always the output, like the we call it the world feed, is always going to the satellite, to the TV studio, and then it's like
they also edited it.
Exactly. So you kind of distribute it like that. So there was like the Norwegian TV was like getting it from the satellite, the Swiss TV was getting it from the satellite.
Oh, so it was the same feed splitted to different.
Yes, we produced the so-called world feed. Then this goes up to the satellite, and then the companies who have like the license to get it, they get access to it, and then they use it.
Okay, yeah, because then your only job is to actually take the shots, The voiceover is done by the different people in the corresponding studios.
Exactly.
So cool. And then in this case, if it's a Swiss company doing this and you have like 18 cameramen, are you all speaking in English to coordinate your work? Or in this case, what was the language?
Yeah, so we had mostly, well, German, Austrian, or like Swiss German cameramans. So it was not like full Swiss, like with French speaking people.
But you were German speaking then?
Yeah, everybody was like German speaking.
Okay, so you could speak German. Okay.
So we were working together with this Swiss national TV.
Yeah.
They gave us the material because we didn't had all this crazy like production vans and everything.
Yeah.
And they were German speaking as well. Yeah. But then like the client, some were still French speaking because it was like in France, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the discussion within the production van was German.
And the French side also, they used your worldview feed?
Yeah. I mean, the Swiss TV has, for every language, they have like their own production. And the French one, they had their own people who were like doing the voiceover. Yeah.
Wow. I never imagined how complex those things are, but then they have to be like optimized and efficient. Yeah. Everything in like the capitalist world where you would not have, in this case, like 4 or 5 different cameraman groups, all of them fighting between each other for the best shots. You can just use one, and then split the one feed between all the countries.
This always works like that. If you watch like skiing races, there's always the TV host who's producing it, or Olympics, for example. There is, for every kind of sports, you have the hosts. And for example, the Swiss TV is really, really famous for that. We're really good in
sports coverage.
Sports, especially like skiing, like alpine skiing. So for Olympics, it's always Swiss TV, no matter where. If it's in Vancouver, Swiss TV is coming and producing alpine skiing.
Really?
Race. If it's like in, what is it, like Tokyo or Korea, it's always Swiss TV is going there. Sochi, Russia, Swiss TV. They bring all.
You mean the Winter Olympics?
Yeah, the Winter Olympics. Yeah. So they bring all their gear. They ship it to wherever it is in the world, and they produce it.
Why are you not following with them?
Yeah, I could but it's only every 4 years, no?
It is, of course, but then the next one should be in 2 years, because now we have the Summer Olympics in Paris this year. So then in 2 years, I don't even know where's the winter one. But in theory, you could just talk to your contacts.
Yeah, and I have a lot of friends who are always go there, no? They fly out to the Olympics. But it's interesting that you have this TV host, those specialized, and you bring all your gear there. And it's like they fill container ships with it.
Of course, it's so much. You mentioned also once that you are using the Steadicam. Yeah, this kind of like a whole vest that you need to put on yourself, and then the camera on top of it. And then even if you're running, the camera is always stable. Yeah, that's also quite complex. Yeah, even to understand and to be fluent in operating and keeping the actual object in the frame.
But like the Steadicams, those are normally special companies who are just doing that. Same with cranes. They're always specialized people doing that because it's quite complicated. So you just hire them for the job. I never really did Steadicam, but I had something called Easy Rig, where it takes the weight away from the camera, because the cameras are sometimes 8-10 kilos, whatever.
Yeah.
And so we did a lot of concerts, and I'm always the guy who is on stage doing some fancy shots of the drummer or whatever.
Yeah.
And with this Easy Rig, you can do some quite interesting movements as well, because it kind of, the weight goes away from the camera, so you have more flexibility for movements.
Yeah.
But it's not a real Steadicam.
And then you have a counterweight, on your belt.
So you have a vest on your body, and then kind of I don't know, over your head.
Yeah.
And then there's a strip going down to the camera, and you kind of distribute the weight of the camera to your full body.
Yeah.
It's a little bit same what the Steadicam does.
Cool. Such a interesting sidetrack from it's day-to-day IT work where you can do something in the field and like see live what you're doing and how good the shot is. Because as you were saying with the live recording, there is no room for error. If you do a mistake and you move the camera too far away, they will instantly see it in the studio. This is a bad shot.
Yeah, and that's why I really like it, because I'm not the guy who likes to do post-production, like editing. And there, if you're doing it live, yeah, you are there. You have to deliver on the time. Like when you're there, you're on. You're on world feet. Cool. And then there's no post-production left. So if the event you're finished. You have to rebuild everything, get your stuff together, and then done.
And in terms of the instructions, because you do have some like headphones to hear the director telling you what to do, are there some like codes of like, do this, do that, move this direction, or it's more kind of descriptive?
So the guy who is like kind of directing everything and tells what you should do. So he sees on his screens what all the cameras are doing it, and has to compose everything together. And then he sees, these two cameramans are doing the same. So he tells the other camera, do something else. And every camera has a number. So you are called by the number, not by your name. Yeah, sure. Because sometimes it depends how big the events are. You don't know the cameramans. No? And they have the numbers on the screen as well. So your camera tree. And then they tell you that you are soon on it. Well, sometimes you have these lights on the camera, called tele, where you see green, which means you're in preview. So you will be cut on it very, very soon. So be prepared. And then if they cut, then you have the red light. And then I'm on. But they also do it via your headset. So they always call top. So they say camera tree, top. And then you're on it. So at the time he presses, it tells top. Yeah. And then he is starting to search for another camera. He's like, okay, camera one, maybe you're the next one. And then he says top. And then you're not on it.
But then in terms of movements and then catching the actual action, you have like a bit of freedom, zooming on the drummer on the concert.
Yes. So normally at the beginning, you talk about it, like what you can do. But sometimes he makes like some interesting fades, like whatever. And then he tells you, now I want to have like a zoom in, or can you maybe do like the singer on the right side because it matches with the other camera, with the other cut. So he tells you those instructions. But else you're kind of flexible. In concerts, you do a lot of zooms. You use small zooms in and out. Or at talks, for example. Very boring, like...
I can imagine.
Like some politicians or like some presentations.
They are not even moving,
What do you do? Then you move the camera, no? You do zoom in, zoom out, 2 hours long.
It's not a particular action shot, like you cannot kind of follow the object like with the running.
Yeah, exactly. But I would say like concerts are the most creative ones. Where you can do some interesting shots as well. But like presentations, not really. Then sports is normally, you follow just whatever is on it. No, football, you follow. Skiing, you follow. But it's interesting. Or ice hockey is very, very challenging.
Ice hockey.
It's very fast. And like the ones at the top are always also fast moving. And the one like down at the field, they have to go very close. And to get the focus right is really, really hard. And then you have like slow motions. In slow motion, you see when you're not on focus, you see it very, very well. Okay. And it's only a split seconds where you're not in focus and everybody sees because it's like slow motion.
And then in the studio, it looks so nice when they actually put it in the TV with the goal, that they scored, and you see the slow motion.
But it's crazy work by the cameraman. They're like, they're good. Because there is no autofocus. You do it everything manually by hand.
There was probably some like presets or something? Like they have to adjust it for the speed with which the black thing is going into the goal. I can imagine that you could manually follow the thing getting into the goal. It's like too fast for a human.
No, they do it. That's manual.
Is it?
You have it on your tripod or shoulder.
Okay.
And, and you keep it in focus while it's moving towards or away from you.
Yeah.
And you have always to.
Yeah, but then if you have done it for a long time, then you probably know how fast you have to like.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all practicing and training. But it's crazy. Like.
Nice. Okay. We are slowly getting to the end of our conversation. And before we finish, I am curious if this side project that you just mentioned, this like being in the field and doing this, does it actually feel like rest, at least for your head, some sort of relax downtime in comparison to your daily work?
Yeah, it is, because it's very, very different, kind of mental, like in your head, or also like physically. It's so different. And that's why sometimes in the peak seasons, like summer or winter, when I'm in Switzerland, because I can only do this when I'm in Switzerland, I can do it for 2-3 weeks straight without break, or maybe one day off. But I could not do this just doing software development all day long.
Yeah.
But with this, I can do it. I'm very exhausted after this couple of weeks because cameraman is physically exhausting.
Yeah.
But I can do it and I'm enjoying it.
Do you do any other sports or activities just to unwind, that you can clearly define that, okay, it's no longer work, either a side project or main project, but just to relax?
I don't really have habits that I do daily workouts. I'm normally quite active during the day when traveling. So like I walk quite a bit. Here in Thailand, not, because we use the scooter for everything. But normally I'm quite active, and also with my side job, there's no need to do workout because you do it on the work.
Yeah, the camera itself is already like heavy lifting.
Yeah. And preparation with all the cables and tripods. It's like always. But I feel it when I'm like traveling for a long time. Then I come back to the work. It's like,
and even when you were doing the military service, then the actual military, not the civil service, is that also like very demanding physically?
Oh yeah, I mean they make you run and everything. I was really bad at that all the time. I hate running. I don't like running.
So how did you survive the whole mandatory military service?
You have to, in the morning, get up at 6, go running for like an hour. And you cannot. Okay. I was always the slowest, and then I had to go like penalty, go running, especially in like 5 in the morning because I was slow. Whatever, I was not fast.
Oh gosh.
Running is not my thing. My small legs.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's demanding and it's not fun when they're like kind of forcing you to this. Okay, so before we finish, what would be the place that people can find you online?
I'm most active on Instagram, I would say. So it's my name, Marc Wieland 95. Pretty much everywhere, like Twitter, Instagram, I think even Facebook. And
that's the birth year.
Yeah, it's like I should change it at some point, but I was just like, I don't have a better idea for it.
That's one of the reasons to use nicknames or whatever abbreviation of your name, to not suggest your...
Yeah, I guess when I got my first Gmail account, I was just not that creative. And since then, it's like my username everywhere. So yeah, and like changing a username is not that easy.
Of course.
Finding one which is like, you can use it everywhere. Yeah. So I'm sticking with that for now.
Cool. And then the blog where you are putting the yearly reviews.
That's as well, not Marc Wieland 95, but marcwieland.name. My website, which should be updated since 5 years, but there is this blog on it and some other like work, like case studies. Yeah, some information on how to get in touch with me.
Cool. Yeah. And then if you would be publishing your cycling project or some other projects, would you put it there?
Yeah, I guess I would do a case study if I ever get to write something about it. But yeah, that would be the place, definitely.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you, Marc. It was a pleasure. I am so glad that we had a chance to go through all of these interesting topics, and that this is the sixth place where we are meeting each other. So once again, thank you very much.
Thanks. Always great to hang out with you.